Welcome. All right, live and direct. Alzheimer's, What They Forget to Tell You, episode 30.
30. Can
30.
You believe that?
Yes, 30. I think it's 30.
Yes,
it's 30. Welcome. Thank you for joining us once again. This is your cafe.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Hello, Craig. Ramon.
Hi, Craig.
Ramon Lead. Hello.
She did. I got nothing.
You take the hair out of your mouth.
There's not a hair in my mouth.
There we go.
Okay, Karen. We're gonna talk about today. Already, we're already entertaining. We're gonna talk about the domino effect of caregiving. Hello, Craig. And we're gonna have a Karen with a K. Well, we already know she spells her name wrong, and she does.
Okay, but do you have to say that every time?
Yes,
like at some point, like it's like.
Because it's.
Okay. Karen with a K that spells her name wrong. Okay. Hi. Carry on.
Okay, she's gonna talk about the effects of her caregiving, and I'll let her explain it. I'm not gonna tell you, but we're just earlier in the week. Karen and I were having a conversation of how stressful it is. Her mom has, they believe now, frontal temporal dementia, which is what I think my mom has, but she wasn't diagnosed with that. And the effects now of her father, who is her primary caregiver, and then Karen being the informal caregiver, who kind of has to manage, I guess, both her parents now. And there she's calling. Perfect. Hello.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Karen.
Thank you so much, Wendy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I think everybody knows. It's Karen with a K.
Here she is, live and direct. Karen with a K.
Okay, so I was just doing a little brief introduction, but you could take it away, Karen, a little bit more on the background story.
Okay. So, where do I begin with this sad story? So my mom has Alzheimer's, as some of you may already know. She was diagnosed in 2013 in October. I think it was October 9th. I would say that she was showing, or she was symptomatic for maybe 5 years before that. But we really didn't think she had Alzheimer's at first, or at least I didn't. Nobody really thought. She just seemed a little bit different. She would say stuff like, well, I'm not working anymore, so I have no need to know what the date is. And she stopped being a canvasser for the Cancer Society, and now I understand it's because collecting the money and recording the money was becoming a challenge for her. So her first major symptom that I observed was her retelling of stories over and over and over and over and over again. And I mentioned this to my dad at the time. He didn't really see anything. A lot of the times folks think that this is a normal part of aging, which it is not. And so I started going to her family doctor. We had the same doctor, and started just mentioning some of my observations. And he would talk to me about spatial awareness and the types of things to pay attention to then report back to him. And so that went on for about 2 years. And then I remember he said, it sounds like your mom has Alzheimer's. And so he gave me the mini mental state test to do, or the MOCA. And I looked at my mom and I thought, well, I know she's not going to pass this test, so I didn't bother.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
Oh.
She wasn't going to complete it.
So what kind of, for people who don't know what MOCA is, what kind of test is this?
So Karen, correct me. I think it's the Montreal Cognitive. Oh God, Montreal.
Yeah, it's basically a mini mental exam, and it just has different questions, such as like it'll ask you what day is it today, or it'll a lot of times Alzheimer's. I don't want to say patients, but people with Alzheimer's or dementia, they have issues with drawing the clock.
Right. So it's with the executive function of the brain.
Exactly.
And so it's about 5 to 7 different questions, and they focus on different parts of the brain. So the questions seem really simple. So like Karen said, draw a clock. So they look at how circular the clock is. The time is, I think, 11:10 or 10 minutes after 10. So they want to see if people measure the hands, right? So the long hand, the short hand. They have to identify animals like a camel and a rhinoceros. You have to name all the words, that begin with the letter F.
They also do like repetition. So they'll say 3 words, and then they'll talk about something else, and then they'll ask you to repeat the 3 words again.
Right. And then they also will read out letters and ask the patient to hit the table every time they say the letter A. Right. And so there's a score. It's the same test that Donald Trump did with that doctor to see how his mental function was. And so I think it's out of 26 or 30, and I think it's out of 30, and anything from 26 to 30 is, I believe, a normal functioning, and anything below 12 is severely cognitively impaired.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And if a person has been a professional person, and my mom, like Karen's mom, was a nurse, they get an extra point because of their ability to be a professional. They're able to use deductive reasoning to try to figure out the answer. So when my mom has to draw a clock, sometimes she doesn't remember how, but she may look up and notice a clock. And that will give her a hint. So maybe then she'll draw a better clock. So when someone's a professional, whatever their score is, they then add 1 to it. So my mom has had Alzheimer's for 4 or 5 years since she was diagnosed, and her last score was 13, which is really 12. She just got the extra mark because she was a nurse.
That's a very severe cognitive decline.
Yeah, like
in 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. They said when she had her CAT scan that they detected significant brain atrophy. And so it was a really firm diagnosis that she suffered with, or that she has dementia. But because my mom was a professional working woman, her social graces are still very much intact. Yeah. So if you see her for like a 2-minute span, she'll say hi appropriately, she'll smile appropriately, and people often do not believe that she's severely cognitively impaired. And so when my dad had a health crisis because of the stress of caring for her 24 hours a day, I found at the hospital, I kept having to tell the hospital staff, don't give my mother information. Like, you have to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I had to do it over and over again because she was a nurse and she was in a familiar setting, and she would say hi and how is he, but she could never retain any information. So giving her information was futile because I would never get it then.
Also explain, because we had spoken about that earlier, of this is a perfect scenario in which Karen does not have a power of attorney for her mom, because of course her father is, looking after her mom primarily. But in this case, where exactly what you're talking about, this could be the problem now, right?
Right.
Where now you don't have the power of attorney, and yet they're speaking to your mom as if she is cognizant or cognitive of what's going on, and how problematic that is. Right?
Yeah, it was really frustrating. And when my dad, he had to have an emergency life-saving surgery, and there were no guarantees that he was going to survive the surgery, so it was a real life and death type of situation. I was I was scared for my father, but I was most scared for what am I going to do if something happens, if he's even in a coma for a month, let's say.
Exactly.
What am I going to do? Because my dad has been managing my mom and transferred, her bank accounts to him. And, because she presents well, and our family doctor had just retired, because if he hadn't, I would have his support in being able to make some decisions. But I was petrified.
Exactly.
What could I do?
So then this is like another very good point on what you will have to deal with if you're in a situation such as Karen, who, see, I am my mom's power of attorney, so I don't have that concern because my father passed away, obviously. But yeah, and the same type of thing, like if my father fell ill prior to, what would I have done? Like how do you go about escalating that power of attorney? So since then, do you have power of attorney since there was a scare?
So I have power of attorney over my father for health and financial, and that's something that my dad is looking into. It's just, luckily now we have a really good relationship with our new family doctor.
Right.
So that kind of anxiety that I have is gone, because she understands as a family unit that my dad and myself attend all my mom's medical appointments regarding her health, and then all her physicians know that I'm involved and that we have an open sharing relationship. But my dad will be undertaking getting the power of attorney. But, folks with Alzheimer's suffer from a lot of paranoia. And so it's a harder thing to do, because then she'll think that we're wanting to put her away or do something behind her back. So getting someone to sign a form is much harder than it sounds.
And at this stage, can she even sign a form?
Well, so here's the thing. So I consulted with an attorney, and his advice was, because I was honest, and I said, she does not pass a cognitive test. So legally, I know that she can't, make any decisions. And he said, you know what, in this scenario, this happens a lot, just get her to sign the form, because if there's no one who's going to contest it, and you're just there to support her, once it's signed, it's signed. Right. And so that's what he said. Right. That was the advice that I got, because the alternative would be going to court, and that would be a cost.
Well, that's when my mom, we did our power of attorney, my brother was present, so that he was the witness of me being the power of attorney. So exactly what you said, it can't be contested, like
Right.
You're trying to do anything unscrupulous, right?
Right. And so if you think that there could be a family member who could contest it, then your avenue would be to go to court. That way the court, through their due diligence, can see that, if the family physician or the team of physicians are saying that this person has always worked in their loved one's best interest, then kind of once you get that stamp from the court, then you would be good to go. But,
Right.
These are all the things that you kind of unfortunately learn about as you go along.
Exactly. And I think it's very good to talk about it, because I think these are things that people don't think about. And we were talking a lot of the time before, because you had recognized that this should have been done years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just a sore spot, or it was it's very difficult when a person is first presenting the symptoms of Alzheimer's or dementia, because they're very lucid at times, and these types of discussions, they don't want to talk about it, especially when your loved one has been in the medical field, such as Karen and myself. My mom and her mom were registered nurses, therefore they understand the disease a little bit more than others. So
Absolutely.
It's that fear factor of, no, I'm not going to give in to this. And but it's very time sensitive, because things like that could have happened. And when you do leave it to the courts, it's not a smooth process, and it's obviously going to take a lot of legal fees. It's not, and then you don't, I don't know, I'm pretty sure a lot fortunate I didn't have to deal with that, but I'm pretty sure it must be even more stressful if a court has to decide whether or not a power of attorney is in the best interest of somebody.
Right, because otherwise then it would be like I forget what it's called in Toronto, like the guardianship office.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The trustee, I think? Trustee?
Yeah, that's it, the trustee.
Right.
But then, like we've been talking about, anytime you have to do anything and you're providing care for somebody with a dementia or Alzheimer's, how do you do those things? Because now you have to find care for them.
That's right.
So you can't do anything. So my dad is my mom's primary caregiver. And, and obviously it's her spouse. They got married in 1969, so they've been married 49 years, and they have a loving relationship. And at times, Alzheimer's, it's really interesting that when my dad was in the hospital, my mom would gaze at him and look at him and talk about when she first laid eyes on him, like when she was 12. And it was cute because she would talk to him and look at him with this like teenage puppy love gaze. And it was so sweet. But now my dad can't get a break from my mom because she just needs to be beside him. So you want to give him a break. He can't even leave her bedroom or their bedroom and walk downstairs without her wondering where he's gone.
Because that's her security now.
Right, absolutely.
Right, that's
but
her
then
link.
it makes it so hard to give him that break. So much effort has to go into a 15-minute break.
Right.
Right? Like it's so daunting. It really is daunting. It's it's sad.
Yes.
Right, and we always hear stories, so many stories about the caregivers, because of the stress on their lives, caring for someone 24 hours a day. Many caregivers pass before the person they were caring for.
Yeah, that's the reality, because it's so stressful.
But yet our systems don't do anything to really, in a meaningful way, support the caregivers. Right? Like, the number of PSW hours that somebody could get, it's based on the abilities of the client or the patient or the person inflicted. But sometimes, maybe it's their caregiver who needs the PSW hours.
Well, they do say respite, and the respite is laughable, right?
It is, because they don't really talk about it. Like, I mean, after what my dad went through, are hours being offered to him? No. The LINS comes out to our home and has interviewed, and they know, and they're nurses and social workers, they understand the extent of his health crisis, but it doesn't really change anything.
I remember that at the beginning, because prior to it being the LIN, which is the Local Integration Health Network for people who don't know, it used to be called Community Care Access Center, which is CCAC. And what they do is it's run by the Ministry of Health, and they'll come to your home they'll send a case manager to do an assessment to see, I guess, where your loved one is at in terms of bathing, feeding, and just basic things like that. And the worst part of it is, as we have been saying, if a person with dementia or Alzheimer's, they don't present all the time that they need help, but they do, right? And so at the beginning, even too, with my mom, they'll come there, and it's of course my mom and myself sitting there, and my mom's like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, my mom still talks about it. She cooks every day, she cleans every day,
Yeah, needs no assistance.
What she did.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't even know why you're here. We're just having, So that presents a challenge too. So I when they do those questionnaires or those surveys, I say, don't have the person. Yes, I understand, but it's not dignified anyways talking about what a person can and can't do in front of them.
Absolutely.
So I always said, like, why would you have that person there for the interview?
And they insist the person has to be there.
Yeah, because, and I don't know, it's just a catch-22. So then it took my mom, I don't know if that's what's probably happening with your mom. It took my mom like a few of those meetings for me insisting, like, no, she does need help. So initially it was like 4 hours, I think, a week.
Right.
Which is nothing.
Well, you see, and we don't really get any hours because they look at my dad and they see, well, he's recovered from a surgery.
Oh, explain that, because I don't think people understand. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the hours are based on the patient or the person with the disease. But if they are in a home with people who are functioning and don't have any presenting significant acute health crisis, therefore they don't get any support because they're in a place where someone can provide meals, can ensure that their ADLs are taken care of, and can keep them safe. But in a long-term care facility, the people who provide those supports do it for 8 hours, and then they switch off. And another staff comes in for the 3 to 11, and they go home, and then another person comes in for the 11 to 7 shift. But when you're caring for your loved one, you're on the clock 24 hours a day.
That's right.
So you have to plan. So my dad does things around, my mom is a member of the Catholic Women's League, and so she likes to watch Mass, and it's on at 11:30. And so she watches Mass, and so that's when my dad knows he has maybe 45 minutes or 30 minutes to kind of do something in the house because she's watching Mass. So he has to plan whatever he does around something that can keep her entertained, let's say, in the home because he can't leave her home alone.
Right.
Right? But no supports are really offered to him unless there's a crisis. Acute.
Exactly.
Crisis. Right?
Yeah.
Acute crisis.
That's
and
right.
they don't offer the supports to you. You have to beg them and beg them.
You have to keep complaining and escalating, yeah.
And the reality is, by the time they approve you, the acuteness may be over. So therefore, then you're not going to get the time anyways.
Right.
Because if it's not acute anymore, there's no need, which makes no sense. Because when you meet with the folks at the Alzheimer's societies, they always talk about how it is, caregiving is 24 hours. And we all know it is. And we know in long-term care facilities, the staff work 8-hour shifts because the work is so hard.
And they have so many people to one person, too.
And they can time out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If their patient in room 202 is really giving them a hard time today, they can switch and get a break. But when you're doing it 24 hours, there's no break.
That's right.
There's no support for that person. I honestly, I don't understand how this works. It's a broken system.
It is. And so, that's a lot for today. And that's like not even the tip of the iceberg. But
Not even.
This is just an average day and the challenges that you face. And it's a domino effect because it affects everybody in the family, right? Like it's not just, it's your dad, it's you, it's your children.
My children, her grandchildren.
Right, exactly. It just keeps going on and on. And we need to, we're trying to figure out a way to combat this and create some awareness and some supports for caregivers because nobody's fighting for us.
Absolutely.
So I guess we'll have to start it. That's how
I look forward to it.
Yes. So, okay. Thanks for calling in. We obviously, maybe next week too, there might be a little schedule change next week because I'm traveling, but I will let you know. It's getting so dark out. I'm getting scared now.
No, it's just because it's going to rain. It's
Yeah.
supposed to rain.
It's like really getting dark. It's like okay. So thanks, Karen.
No problem.
calling
Thanks
in.
again, Wendy.
No problem. Take it easy.
Hey.
Okay, I'm gonna tune in now and watch.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Bye. So, did you learn stuff?
Always. I mean, listening for, to other people's perspectives that are going through a similar journey but completely different, right? Obviously, it's going to be similar but wrapped in a different package. It's always devastating to hear because, it's like you guys just mentioned, it affects everybody. It literally is not just the caregiver per se, but it's the caregiver's children and siblings and parents and cousins and friends and family and community. It's just such a domino effect. So yeah, I think this is a great idea if we could get even more people out there to chime in that are walking this journey.
Well, every time I do these things, I'm like, is this really making any type of difference? And then I got 2 messages in my inbox this week from people that I know, and clearly it is.
Yeah,
it
for sure.
It just keeps, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, am I wasting time? But clearly I'm not.
Well, and I think even just the awareness itself of people who, and this is something that I've been ongoing, in terms of hearing everybody's perspective that's gone through this or going through this. This is the one characteristic that I continuously hear, is that when you're going through it, it's so isolating and you feel so alone and you feel like, people around you don't really understand and you don't know how to explain and express, and so you just end up being, internal and you can fall into a depression. So just hearing that other people are going through something similar and that you're not alone, I think that's therapeutic enough,
It's isolating because, okay, in my case, and I'm sure just like Karen's case, it's your parent at the end of the day. So you don't want to complain. But you need to get it out like anything else. Like if when you're going through something, that's why people go through depressions, because they're internalizing, right?
Right.
Because they say aggression is outward depression sort of thing. And then depression is internal, like when you're just sucking everything in and not getting it out. But when you are looking after someone, especially your mom, your dad, or a spouse, I guess, where it's like a close relationship like that, you want to vent, you're dying to vent, but then you can imagine how it's going to sound to
people
somebody
that don't understand.
So you don't.
Yeah.
And then you just suck it in, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And you just feel really guilty. So it is isolating, and it's about time. This is why I keep saying I do this, because it's about time we fight for people like myself, Karen, there's Erica, there's Bill, there's Kalina, there's a lot of people that I know personally now that are dealing with this, and it's you go through, like I said, emotionally it's so draining.
Yeah. And just knowing that, again, there's other people, there's a not so much a foundation, but a network of people that know exactly what you're feeling and going through it, because they're pretty much going through the same thing. There's a consolation in that, there's definitely some sort of therapeutic.
You don't have your aunt
at all
anymore, and she was a big part of your life,
for sure. And what's so sad about that is just thinking about now this generation and what she's missed out on, and then seeing your interaction with my kids, which brings me back to my interaction with her.
Why don't you just tell them today?
Just, it's so crazy because she looks exactly like her mom, and I want to say that my daughter pretty much looks exactly like I did back in the day. Yeah. So it's like this.
It's like a doppelganger.
360, we're reliving 30 years ago. It's so crazy.
Like she said today, anyways, won't get into the details, but her daughter did something at school, and my mom was a disciplinarian for her. So when she got in trouble at school, it was, let's go to your aunt's house. And
that was enough. Forget my mom even. My mom just was like, I'm not even dealing with this. We're going over to your aunt's house. And I was like, no.
So when I came over here, she's like, tell your auntie what you did. And
And then I left the kitchen because that was my cue to leave. And then this one wants to look at my 6-year-old with the same exact look that her mother would look at me like. And I was like, wow, like, look at that. You know, so it's little moments like that.
What now?
It's very, it's tragic, really. And I always go back and think 30, 20 years ago, like, who could have predicted that this would have been her fate or this would have been the future, you know? And it's just so sad to me, you know, thinking about who she was and how she lived and all the memories, the rich memories that we were left with, and to think of where she is now, it just, it puts things into perspective for sure. Like,
last week was very emotional for me because Jillian's prom, like, she would have been,
for sure.
And just knowing that she's here, but not really here.
Not here
to participate, and grad coming up is going to be a big one.
Yeah, but
I'll start stocking up on tissues from
I was thinking more of your dad because I know
he's like a big, that was a
I was
that
like that would have been huge.
Oh,
for
and
your dad.
Jalen got this is what Howie told me too. Oh, by the way, Mom, I got $1,000 scholarship to go to McMaster.
How did that? Just out of the blue?
Well, because of his marks.
So then all that rest of that stuff was covered?
No, because it only gets access
once he enrolls.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to deal with that in about 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So.
But then maybe you'll have someone nonchalant like him. Oh, by the way.
No, I couldn't. You know me. Yeah, no, I'd have to channel my inner Auntie Marlene and be like, no, this isn't happening again. Anyways, okay, so, yeah, let's cut this.
We'll just keep on. Obviously, it's doing some, basically getting back to it, it's obviously doing good. These podcasts are doing good.
Well, if it's to even help one person, I'm okay with that. Like, if it's, you know, even sometimes getting the feedback from Bill saying, listen, like, this is the first time I've smiled all day, or, you know, this is the first time that I'm able to, like, really sit and listen to somebody who understands what I've just gone through the past 24 hours. Like, just knowing that, you know, it's 1, 2, 3 people, I think that's good enough. It doesn't need to be masses, and if it is masses, then even better. But, you know, it's just really creating an awareness for the caregivers out there that are the MVPs, that are doing this
silent
work,
MVPs,
and no one knows what you guys are really doing. And I think, you know, you guys really deserve just so much more. And I think the more that we talk about it and bring awareness to it, there can be some serious change, some positive change in these departments. And if we can be a part of that, then I'm all for it. So let's just keep it going, keep it rolling.
All right.
Okay, you guys be blessed. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we are grateful for the sharing, the comments, the support, all of that, you know.
Oh, yeah, like, please share, because we always get banned because of this one.
Me!
Yeah, it's your mouth. We always get banned. So. Okay, well, you can talk now. Oh, anyways, yeah, so share, because, you know, just share.
Share.
Okay.
We love you guys. Grateful
Thanks
for all of you.
Thanks for tuning in. And thanks, Karen, again, and we'll talk again because there's way more. And I'm like so fuzzy. Like, it's like when Karen does talk, or anybody else talks about their experiences, then it jogs my memory. Then I'm like, oh yeah, remember, it's 18 years. It's almost 2 decades now for me. So I have to be jogged about how it was initially, and it's good to hear that perspective. It's sad. It's good to hear, but it's also sad that Karen is experiencing the exact same thing that I experienced 18 years ago. That's very telling about our healthcare system, that we are not progressing any further in this disease or caring for our loved ones. And it's voting time, so it's very important to make sure whoever you're voting for, I'm not going to get political.
Please don't.
Well, I'm not, because that's one thing you don't discuss, religion and politics.
See? Banned already.
No, I didn't discuss it.
You said
I'm
the
just
word.
saying.
You said the word. You said it.
Politics and religion.
See?
You're not gonna get banned for that. Anywho, I'm not gonna get banned. It's you. You're the ban. You're the.
See? Always me.
It's you. It's you.
Okay, it's me.
Anyways, it's important that you are aware of whoever you're gonna vote for, their platform, and make sure that they are. Their platform has something to do with health and the healthcare system, because it's very limited. And until you go through it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But don't wait for that. Make sure you make a difference now. That's all I'm going to say.
We're out. Like scouts.
Don't say anything to rhyme and then say something prohibitive.
You've already banned us.
No,
It's
you. Coming. This is good. This one's a good one. This one's not getting banned.
Yeah. We'll see you next week. Peace and love. Bye. Caius! Come here. What's your sister doing? Alasia, come here.